courage plays a big part in our growth, but it's very scary in the moment.
Oh, wake up, rethink the status quo. When you get your money right, then you're the one who runs your life. Come build a wealthy spirit with Sammie and Michelle.
It's a turkey mom and a turkey Tom going gobble, gobble, gobble all the day.
I love a good classic Thanksgiving song. And happy Thanksgiving to our U.S. listeners. It's funny because even though November can feel like Black Friday month all month long, Thanksgiving is the original spirit of the holiday. And we love to do a focused gratitude exercise during this time because Thanksgiving is really about being grateful. I was inspired this year listening to Ariana Grande to make a new twist on the gratitude exercise. I was listening to Thank You Next. She mentions in the song, talking about herself, Ariana Grande, she taught me love, she taught me patience, she handles pain, that's amazing. And she's really grateful to herself for everything she's gone through. Because as she says, she's loved and she's lost, but that's not what she sees. She looks at what she gained. And so I was inspired by Ariana Grande to do the exercise of writing a gratitude letter to your past self. So that's what Sammie and I did, and that's what we're going to talk about today, because it was such a beautiful exercise, and we're so excited to share why we think it's something you should do this Thanksgiving season.
Let's get into it.
But first, Sammie, I am so grateful I don't have to fly anywhere this Thanksgiving. It is always a hectic time of year, and there is inevitably flight problems that go wrong. I'm happy also, though, that we have our partner, AirHelp. You will be so grateful to have AirHelp if you run into any type of issues when you're flying. Maybe you're losing your luggage. Maybe you're grounded in Dallas. Maybe you're stuck in Fort Lauderdale. These are all things that have happened to me, and it's so frustrating afterwards to try and get any kind of compensation or support afterwards. So you can go to AirHelp. They'll fight the good fight for you, and you only have to pay if they're actually able to get you some compensation. So if you're flying this Thanksgiving or at all this past year and you run into any problems, bookmark the link in our show notes. You'll be glad you did.
What is a thank you letter to yourself?
Such a good question, Sammie.
A thank you letter is when we thank our past selves for helping us become the person we are today.
Yes. A lot of times I find, Sammie, when I'm in the present moment, under the stress of a hard conversation or grief or just dealing with something that's difficult, it's hard to remember in those moments that I might grow from them or that there might be a light at the end of the tunnel. On the flip side, sometimes in the happy moments, I forget about all those moments that led me to this moment. And that's why a thank you letter to yourself is such a positive exercise. You're speaking to yourself in the past and saying thank you for the good times and the bad, because we are here now because of it.
Now, sometimes a whole lifetime can be a broad amount of time and maybe too much time for one letter. So one option for the thank you letter to yourself is to focus on a specific period of time. Maybe just the past year or the past 5 years. Or maybe you want to make a thank you letter to your childhood self. Whatever feels most appropriate and resonates with you the most.
Exactly, Sammie. You can also focus around themes, major life decisions, your career journey, areas of personal growth. There might be a specific thing that you've done. For example, for me, I'm really appreciative of all the tough conversations I had. Maybe you will have a letter dedicated to a theme as well. Narrowing the scope makes it a lot easier, so you're not writing a 100-page book to yourself.
For me, I used a little help of ChatGPT And I wrote about my achievements, growth, showing compassion to my past self, and expressing hope and encouragement at the end of my letter.
I love those suggestions. Thank you, Chat and Cloud. I think there's really two helpful frameworks to look at too. For me, I like to focus on, one, what positive things have I done that supported my current self? So those could be things like saving money, so you have financial security today, or even things that are a little bit less good, quote unquote, but still beneficial. Like I'm grateful for myself for enjoying my 20s and going to Vegas as many times as I did, because that really fulfilled a part of myself that I don't do now, but really enjoyed then.
And not just positive events, Michelle. Focusing on challenging events can be really helpful in a thank you letter to yourself. Personally, I found that some of the things that are challenging in the moment, in the future, can be extremely beneficial. Focusing on these hard times, these difficult emotional times that we went through in the past, is actually what lets us be free today, free mentally, more resilient to overcome new obstacles. It's the ultimate Scorpio rebirth cycle. Saying thank you for that challenging event is an excellent way to acknowledge that doing hard things can make life easier.
It's so helpful, Sammie, to go back and be able to see and say, thank you for helping me see I could be strong, that I could do hard things. And if you're writing your current gratitude letter in a place where you are going through difficulties, I think it can also be helpful to remember, oh, there's a reason I have hope. Maybe I don't feel in my heart that things are going to get better, but logically I can see that I can trust myself, I can feel my feelings, and I can move through this. So whether you're approaching your gratitude letter with a positive current situation or a negative one or one that's difficult, I feel like this can be such a helpful exercise. Sammie and I got a lot out of doing our gratitude letters.
So I wrote my gratitude letter to myself, just like Chat said, and I started with my accomplishments. And one of my biggest accomplishments that I had to thank myself for, Sammie of the past, thank you, was being financially responsible and getting into financial independence. When I started that journey, I had no idea that it would mean that in 2024, I would get to live like a free woman, exercising every day, going outside, meditating, going to the beach, hanging out with friends, and having a real community that I actually get to hang out with regularly. All of these things were not even in my lexicon when I was just working all day long. I know the reason that I can do that today is because I was aggressive. We're talking greater than 50% savings rate for 4-5 years in a row, set my whole life up. And writing that to myself, I actually was inspired to start tracking my spending again. You know, it's funny, Michelle, because yesterday I was talking to our listener, Tamara, who is taking charge of her own finances, and she's going to start tracking her spending as well. And this got me super inspired to restart tracking my spending. Tracking spending can seem really boring, but it's actually so insightful. And there is something almost like karmic about writing down everything that you spend your money on and being a super good steward of that. So I just want to get back into it because I want Sammie of the future to have another thank you to say for being a financial steward.
I love that so much, Sammie. This exercise is so helpful in making us appreciate how much our past selves did to set up our current selves, in your example, financially. And I agree, it helps you remember, wait, I can do those things with my current self to help support my future self. That's such a beautiful thing to realize. Like, I do these things for a reason, and there are fruits of my labor that I can see today, which can encourage you to keep up those habits moving forward.
Another thing I had to appreciate about myself in my letter was courage. The girl had courage to leave her job. And when I left my job, I was not 100% financially independent, still am not, and I really did not know how things would turn out. It's funny because this past week, I was going to the grocery store, Home Goods, TJ Maxx, shopping for things for my birthday. And I remembered last year at this exact same time of the year, going shopping for our Christmas tree. And I was being so miserly and cheap about what kind of Christmas tree skirt I wanted. I wanted to get the cheapest one because I was so afraid to spend any money since I wasn't making money. I just didn't have that comfort level yet. It wasn't until January when I saw how much my net worth had gone up that I started to feel comfortable spending some money. But before that, I was like, no, like we are going to save as much as possible. It just makes me appreciate, how scared I was. I really didn't know that things were going to be okay. Like I knew the math, but I really did not know that it would actually work out and that everything would be okay. That at the end of this year, my net worth is still up, even though I'm spending money and it's totally fine. I didn't know that that is something that could actually happen. The me that left my secure, safe job, left my job with a good status, a job that I was good at, people recognized me for the work that I did, leaving that comfort zone to take care of myself took so much bravery. And in the letter, I took time to appreciate that about myself.
Snaps to that, Sammie.
Thank you.
It's so true. And a theme I saw in my own letter writing was how much courage plays a big part in our growth. But it's very scary in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
It's this feeling of, okay, logically, I know this will be fine, but it's so hard to have that faith. And courage is really about having faith that you're taking the right step. And looking back and seeing how things played out is so helpful. And saying thank you to yourself, because no matter the outcome, regardless, you are where you're supposed to be. And chances are you've grown from that experience. For me, Sammie, I saw a major theme in my own letter to my past self. I decided to focus specifically on the past year because this was a big growth year for me. It involved a lot of tough conversations in all my relationships, work, family, romantic, and I really pushed myself to address problems, to clearly communicate, to stand in integrity. And it was not fun. It was a lot of moving through hard feelings, a lot of grief, a lot of just letting myself sit in hard, negative feelings, but also understanding that it was important to feel my feelings. For me, I'm so happy and hopeful now, and I owe so much to my past self who did the painful work. And so this letter was an opportunity for me to really thank myself and appreciate myself for going through that and holding space for myself. For me, even just a month ago, I was working through hard feelings because I was going through romantic troubles. And I remember thinking, okay, I know logically, once again, I'm making the right decision, but I feel terrible right now. However, let me remember that this could pay off. And a month later, I feel great. But it's so easy in those hard moments to forget that there is a reason we have to feel our feelings and move through it. And it's nice to just be able to go back and almost give yourself a little hug and say, thank you so much for doing that for me.
She taught me love. She taught me patience, how he handles pain. She's so amazing.
Ooh, Ariana, banger.
Takeaways.
Takeaways for this episode. Sometimes we forget how much we've done for ourselves. We are who we are today because of the growth we have gone through and our personal dedication to evolving. And that's easy to forget day to day. The gratitude letter to yourself is taking some time to reflect and show ourselves some love for what we have done.
We are not great, Sammie, about being grateful to ourselves. To be honest, even talking in this episode and saying how much I'm so grateful to myself feels a little uncomfortable. It feels very self-focused.
You felt very in personality for me.
Good job, girl. I loved writing the letter, though. It really made me deeply appreciate the things that I've done. And to your point, Sammie, makes me appreciate, hey, I want to make sure I keep up my good habits, that I set a focus for 2025. Because what you learn when you move through this process and you're grateful for the things that you've done is that you can do more. You can set yourself up for all of the things that you want to do. You are resilient. You are smart. You are kind to yourself. The future is uncertain, but you have the tools. So be thankful to your past self, your current self, and your future self.
Community time!
Before we say goodbye, it's our community time. First of all, shout out to Paul and Harris. They loved our recent replay of the Love Languages podcast. I highly recommend listening to it. It was making me laugh, and I'm glad Harris and Paul appreciated it. Harris, like our own Michelle, likes touch and words of affirmation, and Paul came up with his own love languages, deep conversation and humor.
Our rule follower, Sammie, did not like that he was cheating, but I think there's something to that. It's always good to know what is resonant for us and what makes us feel loved.
If I had my own love language, it would be, I like people who plan. I love planning. Planning is my love language.
And respecting your plans and your routine.
Yeah, it's kind of like mutual.
Order is your love language. Also, thank you to Matt. He left us this wonderful comment. These are fun pods, practical, easy to take in, and gives the reader-listener good takeaways. Also helps break down the fear of fire. Air help is right on time. I had an all-time nightmare flight back to see my wife last weekend. I'm filing a couple of claims. Random side note, the title on this made me think of the Dave Chappelle Rick James episode when he grinds his boots into the white suede couch. If you know, you know. Genuinely looking forward to hearing more of these. Keep them coming. Thank you so much, Matt. I love that positive comment, and I'm so happy that Air Help was helpful for you.
Masha said, I love, with 3 O's, using AI for all things in my business. Responding to emails, uploading spreadsheets into chat, and having it give me a summary or date on an analysis. Researching local restaurants, and having fun activities to do with the family, business ideas, email sequences, presentation slide decks, edits, and creation, etc. But I just used your advice, using it for values, and the values it pulled up for me was so sweet.
Masha, thank you so much. Your emails always make us smile. And I love all of these things that you suggested. I haven't used it for local restaurants or anything like that. So I'm excited because we have only gotten more and more deep into the AI tools. So I'm excited to try them out. For today's episode, let us know something you're thankful for yourself, for your past self. Leave it in our comments, buildawealthyspirit.com. We would love to hear from you.
And most importantly, be sure to join us next time as we put down the rulebook and we rethink the status quo.